Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show today, guys. This is crazy. Trump has given Mike Johnson, a complete and total endorsement ahead of the speakership fight that's about to happen in a couple of days. And even still, with this endorsement, we have multiple Republicans who have come out and said, I do not care what Trump says. I'm not voting for Johnson. He is a rhino, and he is not going to put the America First agenda, which is now creating new infighting within the GOP political party. And with this, now that we have what we say, the Republicans, we have the MAGA folk, and then we have the rhinos, Mike Johnson, who Thomas Massie said falls into the rhinos, that he is more for the Democrats than he is for the Republican Party. Trump also said, and I quote, "Let's not blow this great opportunity." But with Thomas Massie and Lawyer, who have come out and said that Johnson handed Democrats everything they wanted in this last funding bill, he doesn't deserve our vote. We are going to see some extreme fighting happening in the next couple of weeks. We also have now the border is turning into a real big fight too, where Homan, the new border czar, has said, I'm going to be fighting Democrats and politicians more than I am the illegals that are here. Trump said the Democrats don't care what our country may be forced into as long as it hurts the Republican Party. And we are now at the point where I hope that through sources like my videos and X that we will reveal the truth of what's happening with these politicians and we can get them out so that you see the truth, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Also, Biden, because he is such a gracious and loving steward of the taxpayer money, is giving $2.5 billion to Americans. He's going to be, oh wait, I'm sorry guys. I mean, $2.5 billion to Ukraine, not Americans, in security assistance. Every week we're seeing Biden give multiple billion-dollar packages, taxpayer dollars, over to Ukraine as he said he would. Remember, he quoted and stated that he wanted his staff to spend as much money as possible. Forget, the people in North Carolina, they're still trying to find their homes. But this is not only going to affect America, Ukraine, it's going to affect economy, businesses, taxes, inflation. We also have it where Steve Bannon is coming out and, guys, he kind of sounds like, it's crazy as much. He's sounding more left, but he's actually saying the truth about the economy, about the top-down method, about the tech giants trying to destroy our society through Facebook, Instagram, all this. But Facebook and Instagram just released that they are going to start creating fake AI people on Facebook and Instagram to have real-world conversations and interactions with real people to make their platforms more inclusive. So be careful who you speak to on these platforms. You never know whether they're just an AI person on the other side. Just want to say thank you to everybody that's watching. We got a ton of breaking news to get into today. It is going to be a big, crazy couple of weeks. If Mike Johnson retains speakership, then we'll see Trump be inaugurated on January 20. If not, then this could be prolonged. Just want to say thank you. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button so I can serve you every day with the top news. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button, guys. It really does help the channel out so much, and we are so grateful and thankful for your support. Thank you to all of our members of the channel. If you want to join, the link is in the description to join the True Life News fam. And thank you to everybody that gives a super chat donation to help out with our giving to charity every single month. Thank you so much, Charlotte Smith, for the first time super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Charlotte some love in the chat. But guys, this endorsement from Trump is big, but a lot of these GOP are saying it doesn't matter. Check this out.
Avoided a government shutdown over the holidays with an 11th hour funding bill, which of course is only a temporary fix. The next deadline is in March. That's just part of a long to-do list for the House's narrow GOP majority. They've also got a big vote this Friday to elect the next Speaker of the House. The president-elect now throwing in the debt ceiling issue, and Congress will also need to tackle immigration and taxes. That's just the House side. Over in the Senate, Trump's cabinet picks head to confirmation hearings, and some Republicans are feeling confident.
At the end of the day, the difference between the 119th Congress and the 118th Congress is we'll have a Republican president, a strong Republican president who's very popular with Republican congressmen's constituents back home, and that's Donald Trump.
Our Alexander Hoff is in Washington with more on this. A lot on their plates, Alex.
That's right, Aisha. And a short time ago, the president-elect satisfied supporters of House Speaker Mike Johnson with a gesture to shore up the speakership by showing his support. He wrote this, quote, "The American people need immediate relief from all of the destructive policies of the last administration. Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement." So Trump there expressing how any delay in voting Johnson back in would delay his day one priorities. Congressman Mike Lawler slammed the 4 to 10 colleagues who have so far been undecided on Johnson.
The fact is that these folks are playing with fire, and if they think they're somehow going to get a more conservative speaker, they're kidding themselves. We can't get anything done unless we have a speaker, including certifying President Trump's election on January 6th. So to waste time over a nonsensical intramural food fight is a joke.
Now, the funding battles you were speaking to that weakened Johnson earlier this month will have to be addressed again. That deal only lasts through March 14th. Republicans also want to take immediate action on securing the border and to move on a bill to get federal workers back in the office, aiding in the new administration's effort to reduce waste.
I think he's going to be known as the Doge speaker for the next Congress. He's going to enable chairmen like myself and others to go into our respective lanes and get rid of the waste and help to do our lane of making America the most prosperous that it's ever been.
Now, Speaker Johnson has responded to Trump's endorsement today, thanking him and saying that the American people demand and deserve that no time is wasted. Aisha.
And Congressman Andy Biggs just told us on the show that he's not sure that he's a yes or a no. So it's an uphill battle. Alex Hoff.
Guys, I'm telling you, there's right now, as much as Trump wants, like the thing about that, I think about it like this. I would rather delay Trump being in office for 2 weeks and have the right speaker in the House who is 100% MAGA than to have a half MAGA, half rhino person in office for the next 2 years. But with Trump's given his complete and total endorsement ahead of the speakership fight, still, it doesn't, like to a lot of people, it doesn't matter. Listen to this. This is Thomas Massie. This is one of the people that has to vote for him. He said, "I respect and support President Trump, but his endorsement of Mike Johnson is going to work out about as well as his endorsement of Speaker Paul Ryan," which we remember. "We've seen Johnson partner with the Democrats to send money to Ukraine, authorize spying on Americans, and blow the budget." So I'm telling you guys, and remember, they only have a one-person lead. If they don't get every single vote, and if Mike Johnson doesn't get Democrats, he's not going to be the speaker, and I think somebody else is going to pop up in place. The biggest thing when we look at is what was the actual message that Donald Trump said, and it was a long one, guys. I want to show you this. It was a long one. I'm not going to read everything. But he said the most part is, "We are the party of common sense, a primary reason that we won a landslide, the magnificent historic presidential election of 2024, all 7 swing states, 312 electoral votes, college votes, and the popular vote by the millions of Americans." So this is the actual endorsement that he gave to Mike Johnson. Towards the bottom, you can see that he said, "The American people need immediate relief from all of the destructive policies of the last administration. Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing and will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement, MAGA." Now again, too, there's a lot of things that we don't know that's happening behind the scenes. We know that right now the Democrats have done a huge job over the past 4 years of bringing in a ton of illegal immigrants to try to convert them over to voters for the next election. So I understand like what they're trying to go through, but check this out, because I'm telling you, there's a lot happening behind the scenes that we're starting to get the leaks over.
Talking about the change is coming, and we've got basically 18 months to 2 years to do it. Tom Homan's coming in as the border czar. This guy's amazing. I know Tom very well for a long time. Good man, solid patriot, loves his country. He's talking to Tucker about the real purpose of illegal immigration on the left. You need to pay attention to this because we will never win another presidential election again or control of the House of Representatives if you don't pay attention to the census and the role of illegal immigration in the census. Listen to the end of this. It's really important. Check this out.
What do you think the goal was?
You know, I asked that a lot of people. Why would anybody open the border up? I think Joe Biden's the first president in American history who came in office and unsecured the border. I worked for, 6 presidents. Obama and Clinton took steps to secure the border because they understood you can't have, there's no way you can have strong national security if you don't have border security. You need to know what's coming, who's coming in, where it's coming in, why it's coming in. Joe Biden's first president came in office and unsecured the border. And people ask me all the time why. I think they see a future political benefit. I think they think these people will be future Democratic voters, number one. Two, but we don't even have to get there, right, Tucker? I mean, when Biden signed over 90 executive orders getting rid of everything we did, he also overturned the Trump census rule, where millions of illegal aliens be counted in all these sanctuary cities, which is going to result in more seats in the House for the Dems and the reproportionate seats in the House.
It was the only goal.
Oh, my gosh, folks. I can't talk about this enough. This is one of my top 5 issues that I wish conservative media would focus on. I heard Laura Ingraham talk about it recently. Good for her. Tom Homan, you're a friend. You're a patriot. I'm begging you to keep bringing this up. Folks, yes, cheap labor is a part of it. I totally understand that. Put aside that argument for a second. The Democrats, put up the ABC article. Look at the date on this, back in 2020. The Democrats sued because the Trump administration, they wanted to exclude illegal immigrants. They call them undocumented, which is euphemistic bullshit. Illegal immigrants from the census. There is no way we should be including illegal immigrants in our census. The reason the Democrats sued and made a huge stink over this to be able to include them is because people are moving out of liberal states like California, Illinois, Maryland, and New York. That's just a fact. They're moving to conservative states. So that has 2 effects. Number one, the House of Representatives, your congressman, you get a congressman for about every 700 residents of the state. If they can count illegals, liberal states get extra congressmen. It's simple math. Wow, that sucks, Dan. It sounds like we'll never ever get a congressional majority again on the Republican side if we keep pouring illegal folks into liberal states. Yes, that's the point. But it gets even worse. It affects another branch of government too. Folks in the chat, you already know where I'm going with this. Holman just told you this. The Electoral College that elects the president is based on the number of congressmen and senators in your state, 2 for everyone. More congressmen gives these liberal states the ability, as people move out, to bring new illegals in so they don't lose electoral college votes either. This is a huge deal. It's why the Democrats do not want the next census, do not want illegal immigrants excluded. It's a huge deal. By the way, some breaking news just happened during the podcast. There's an article that just popped in the New York Post that 17 military bases have had unexplained encounters with drones. And again, hammering my point home from before. And right around where these drones were found or spotted was land owned by China around these bases.
Really?
How the hell we're selling sensitive land near military facilities to a foreign enemy of the United States so they can surveil us it's just disgusting.
Guys, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but you just heard this. Like, when I think about the politicians and all of them, when I think about all the politicians, most of them in Congress right now, they're all corrupt. They're all lobbyists. They're all paid by the lobbyists. They all need to go, and we need to drain the swamp. And that's why we need somebody who is hard to go in and fight to get the things actually done. I don't see that in Mike Johnson. But you just heard what Bongino said. Why are we selling sensitive land to China near military bases? And then these drones we find out are from China. It's all, who else would authorize this? Who else? You can't even go get a permit through the city without somebody coming in and basically looking at your entire life. Guys, it's all by design, and we need to drain the swamp.
It really is. It's one of the most disgusting things I've ever seen. What was that? Where was that? The government's drone denials. Was that later in the show? Can we bring that up now? Is that okay? Here, I was going to discuss this later in the show. But again, back to this topic. I'm sorry, but this just broke now. That's a huge story. I'm telling you, it's China. Not all of it. Not all of it. They are watching us. They are mapping us out. This is a serious thing. And nobody believes the government. Henninger was going to cover this later. But nobody trusts these people. The government's denials on drones are just complete bullshit. Nobody believes it. He notes the U.S. electorate's Trumpian turn isn't an outlier. A rising level of no confidence in government, what we've been talking about, has gone global. It's not just here. Germany, their government collapsed this week. Did you know that? France's did earlier last month. The vote in the UK put Labour back in power. Was it just a withdrawal of confidence in conservative governance? Is governance at all? The Trudeau government in Canada could be next. Everybody wants to get rid of people in power because these people just suck. They can't give us an honest answer on anything.
Nope.
You told us the border was secure. You told us inflation was transitory. You told us the drones weren't a threat, and then you told us they didn't know what they were. Why would people believe you? You don't even believe yourself. Back to this illegal immigration argument. This was one of the major seismic shifts in the election. Border security and inflation. Folks, the left doesn't get it. We have 2 years to move. They are still sitting there thinking about Kamala Harris, open borders, how to get more illegals in the country. They have not adjusted to this new reality. We have to take tactical advantage while they're sitting there in a circular firing squad. I want to play this clip for you out of New York to show you that the lunacy is not stopped. They have a position in New York. It's a very powerful position. It's largely ceremonial, but it's called the public advocate position. Everybody in New York City who gets it runs for mayor. So it's like a stepping stone position, right? So the New York City current public advocate, this is the craziest thing you're ever going to see. You think after the election they'd take stuff like this and throw it in the garbage? They want to give an exemption for illegal immigrants to be able to take like motorized bikes, you know, like scooters and stuff around the city, but they don't have to get a license plate, just you do. And I want you to listen to the way the guy frames this. Like, it's really racist to ask people who are in the country illegally to have to get a license plate on your vehicle while you actually have to get one. This is how crazy these people are.
Wow.
We got 2 years. They're still not straight. Check this out. What's that? Oh, yeah, this guy.
You have to be clear that if passed, the legislation would have a disparate impact on low-income individuals, people of more color, and undocumented migrants. I know for some that doesn't cause concern, but the impact should. Undocumented immigrants might be reluctant to fill out applications to register their bicycles, but they might not be more reluctant to ride the bicycles. If we are...
I mean... I always think back to John Edwards, that infamous Democrat candidate for president, John Kerry's vice presidential pick, talking about two Americas. He was talking about it from a wealth inequality and power standpoint, like a liberal Democrat. There are two Americas. There are illegals that get things you don't get, and then there's American citizens who you be locked up.
Again, too, you don't get plates. You go to jail. But, you know, again, too, I want to show you guys from multiple sources. Trump, this is from the leading report. Trump officially endorses Mike Johnson for Speaker of the House. This is 100% official. But this is what I feel like we're in such a fight and why Trump wants to get in as president and just secure the presidency as quickly as possible. President-elect Trump slams Democrats and former House Speaker for what he calls one of the dumbest political decisions in years, fighting over the debt ceiling. He said that the Democrats don't care what our country may be forced into. In fact, they would prefer depression as long as it hurts the Republican Party. So from the perspective that I could feel like that Trump is coming from is that he really, really wants just to get into the seat of presidency and then deal with the aftermath later. Because no matter what right now, it's under Biden. It's under we're at January 1st. The new Congress takes place in the Senate and in Congress, but the presidency is still under Biden. Check this out.
Which is why House Speaker needs to be selected before Congress can be ready for President-elect Trump. Now, the vote expected to happen on Friday. President-elect Trump weighing in just literally 90 minutes ago. He said that Mike Johnson has his complete and total endorsement. Now, Florida Republican Congresswoman Kat Cammack joins me now. So the first question, do you support House Speaker Mike Johnson to continue in that role?
Well, Happy New Year to you. And, you know, it's interesting that Trump just weighed in, and I couldn't agree more with President-elect Donald Trump. He says we are the party of common sense. We have no time to waste. We have a mandate from the American people. Mike Johnson needs to be re-elected as Speaker of the House so that we can get to work. I think everyday Americans could care less about who is Speaker, because what they want is for inflation to come down, prices to come down, to get government out of their business and out of their everyday lives, and that's what we have to do. We can't squabble over personalities and little things here and there. Now, of course, there are things that I wish we could have handled differently. I haven't always been thrilled with every decision, but that's life. Heck, if you're married, you know you don't agree with everything that happens and everything that your partner, your spouse, or even your coworkers do. So I think at this point, we have to think about the country, put America first, and get right to work.
Yeah, you know, this is what happened. You know, all of this sort of debate happened after I talked with the Freedom Caucus, or the head of the Freedom Caucus, Representative Andy Harris. And this last week, this is what he told me on the show. Listen to this.
Before the last couple of weeks, I was, you know, in his corner, but now I'm, you know, we should consider what's the best path forward. And again, we reconvene on January 3rd. We obviously have a lot of important things to do in January, but we do need to consider whether, if we're going to advance Mr. Trump's agenda, whether the current leadership is what we need.
And as you mentioned 90 minutes ago, the President-elect Trump said, quote, Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win. Mike has my complete and total endorsement. You know, last week, Representative Harris told me that he had not heard from the President-elect since that CR sort of mess that happened there. Do you believe now Mike Johnson has the votes that he needs on Friday?
You know, I know that there has been one public no, an affirmative no, coming from my friend and colleague Thomas Massie, and many others like, again, my friend and colleague Andy Harris, and others who have expressed concerns and reservations. And listen, again, last week, I was not happy about how the CR came down. I think that we have kicked the can down the road continuously, and it has led to a disaster in policy, which is why so many of us were putting our foot down. But this is a discussion and a debate that we've been needing to have. What kind of country do we want? Are we going to keep on kicking the can down the road or not? So when it comes to the votes, we're effectively in coalition government at this point because of the narrow margin. We no longer have the 20-30 vote majorities of the past. We're dealing with 2-3 max. So I think there's going to be a lot of discussions happening this week. And hopefully it comes down to people putting the country first rather than trying to bargain for TV time or clicks or fundraising dollars. Typically in the past, we've seen where they've spoken out, not because they want a different outcome, but because people see it as an opportunity to get something for themselves. So I'm hoping that we can put all the personality and self-interest aside.
I want to get your take on the debt ceiling. The President-elect Trump has said that it was a massive mistake not to suspend the debt ceiling. You have voted to keep the debt ceiling in place. What do you think happens March 14th then? And is keeping the debt ceiling in place the right move?
You know, 2 years ago, when then Speaker McCarthy had put together a deal that suspended the debt ceiling indefinitely for 2 years, I raised hell then and said, this is ridiculous. We are going to have President Trump back in office, and we're going to land this squarely on his shoulders. One, it's irresponsible. Two, it's not fair. And again, it is kicking the can down the road. So in no shape, way, form, or fashion have I ever supported a debt ceiling being lifted, because it makes very little sense that we campaign on cutting the size scope of government, cut spending, but then we say, hey, let's get rid of the credit card limit in order to cut spending. It doesn't make sense. Now, I understand that President Trump wants to have that authority and that flexibility to do what needs to be done. But we have seen time and time again, and certainly throughout my lifetime, where increasing the debt ceiling, suspending the debt ceiling, it just increases our deficits, puts our nation further in debt. And that is a problem, because we have never seen a nation nation with this level of debt come back from the brink. We are at the tipping point, so we have to get very serious. I think what we have agreed to at this point, come March, is the offset for net mandatory savings versus the raising of the debt ceiling. I think that's a positive path forward.
Representative Kim, in 30 seconds, I just want to get your take on this. Your President-elect Biden has announced another $2.5 billion in assistance for Ukraine. The Treasury Secretary this morning announcing $3.4 billion in direct budget support. Now, that's the final payment from the supplemental that was passed this year. What do you think about those?
It's a continuation of the America Last policies that we've seen for the last 4 years. And the notion that we're going to continue to deplete our munitions stockpile to give it to Ukraine for an endless war, well, it's just quite frankly the continuation of neocon adventurism around the globe that has put us in this position where we're weak at home, we're weak abroad, and I cannot wait until President-elect Donald Trump takes the oath of office so we can actually put America first. No more spending when we have too many needs here at home in Florida, North Carolina, places ravaged by storm. We have an opportunity to put America first, and it comes in 22 days.
Guys, I'm telling you, the amount of money that is flowing out of this is the actual endorsement piece coming from President Joe Biden from the briefing room. Today, I'm proud to announce nearly $2.5 billion in security assistance for Ukraine as the Ukrainian people continue to defend their independence and freedom from Russian aggression. Guys, it's never going to end. It's never going to stop. They're just going to keep taxing people till we can't be taxed anymore. We're going to be in so much inflation unless we stop it. Lay Lewis, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's go. Said, I think because we have to wait just a few more days, President Trump ain't stupid and knows that he must get in office at all costs. I trust him. I believe that. This is the thing, too. There's a lot of things we don't know. But what I do know, too, is that when you look at U.S. announces, again, guys, this is over the past 2 weeks, $5.9 billion in military budget aid to Ukraine. There's something going on that we don't know yet. We will know, but I don't think we know yet. Thank you so much, Mr. Norby, for the super chat. Let's go. He said, just use Johnson for 30 days. We need our majority in the House and Senate. Then certify our elections, swear in all our new people for sure, and get Trump sworn in on January 20th date. Great job, TrueLife. Way to go, brother. Hey, appreciate you, brother. Y'all show Mr. Norby and lay some love in the chat, everybody. We're desperate. We're at a point, guys, where when we look at where the tide is turning, what the Democrats are trying to do, Trump is pushing for the America First, but he's also pushing pressure on everybody else. This is breaking news this morning that the Mexican government says they will open 25 new shelters to house deported migrants. He said Mexico will not keep and support them. Within days, they'll be shipped out back to their home countries. The facilities will only house Mexican migrants for a few days before they are sent to their hometowns. Guys, this is big news. Because when we look at let me see if I can turn this on, turn off the audio. When we look at the mass deportations that are about to happen, where Tom Homan is at, he's trying to clean up the country now. Trump's trying to clean Congress up, as well as clean up the spending with Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. There's just a lot of things that we need to get done in a very short period of time because we don't have time. They already learned from the first Trump presidency that they did the tax cuts, but we didn't see the actual positive outcome from the tax cuts till a year and a half later, and that's when the Democrats got into office. So it looked like the Democrats did it whenever it was Trump. But that's why going back to Tom Homan and clearing up, securing the border is super important because we got to make sure that only American citizens are voting in our elections. Check this out.
It's so sad when we lose people from Harvard, MIT, from the greatest schools, and lesser schools that are phenomenal schools also. What I want to do and what I will do is you graduate from a college, I think you should get automatically as part of your diploma a green card to be able to stay in this country. And that includes junior colleges too. I know of stories where people graduated from a top college or from a college and they desperately wanted to stay here. They had a plan for a company, a concept. and they can't. They go back to India, they go back to China, they do the same basic company in those places, and they become multi-billionaires employing thousands and thousands of people, and it could have been done here.
All right, let's talk about this. And for some help with that, I want to welcome in from the Trump administration, the border czar, Tom Homan. Tom, you are such a busy man. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. We appreciate it. But man, this H-1B visa system, it is a hot topic. We know that it's broken. It needs some major reforms. So what's your plan to help make it better in this next administration?
Well, look, as far as H-1B discussion, I'm not going to get ahead of the president on this. I mean, he's going to have that, he'll make that decision. I'm busy trying to secure the border and running a deportation operation. I'll leave that up to the president to decide what he's going to do. I can tell you during the first administration, his immigration plan was based on merit mostly, right? People that come to the United States, get a visa and so forth, that can improve and help the United States become even greater. You still have room for families, moms, dads, sons, and daughters. There's still a family component, but, you know, it was based on merit the first time. Wow. I have not seen the second plan. I have not had a discussion.
Guys, I just want you to soak in, I just want you to soak in this image. Look at this. This is what has been happening at the border that you haven't seen on CNN, MSNBC, ABC, none of those networks. But this is where you see the truth of what has actually happened. And all these people are unvetted, and there's so many millions gotaways, and this is what the Democrats plan to do.
Based on merit first time, I have not seen the second plan. I have not had a discussion about H-1B, so I'll leave it with the president to make those decisions.
Yeah, no, you know, Tom, it seems to make sense. If you come here in America, you study at some of our most prestigious elite universities, why don't you take that knowledge and keep it here in America rather than going to India or maybe even an adversary like China? But to your other point, you've been busy laying out plans to combat the immigration crisis once the president takes office, potentially bringing back family detention centers to help with those deportation efforts. Obviously, that causes the left to lose their minds, but
well, listen, Mark, I just wrote an op-ed. I'm not done yet, but that's exactly what I wrote about this weekend, right? So I mentioned like maybe family detention may be an option, and everybody goes nuts. Let's remember, President Obama built family detention, right? So it was fine then. But if the Trump administration does it, all of a sudden we're cruel. But the reason I even think about family detention, again, no decision has been made, but I consider it an option. Let me tell you why. Because if we can detain the family in a residential center, not a jail, residential center, guess what? That gives us time to maybe do DNA testing. That gives us time to do an investigation and find out they're actually a family.
Yep.
Because under the Biden administration, we got thousands of children been trafficked into the United States with an adult that claims to be the parent but wasn't a parent. The Biden administration stopped DNA testing. They stopped family residential centers, and what came out of it? Thousands of kids trafficked into the United States that they can't find. That the Trump administration has made a promise, we're going to try to find these over 300,000 children. But the whole thought of family residential center was to protect children, for God's sakes. But again, Obama does it, it's okay. Homan does it, I'm cruel. But it's an option we're considering for the safety and security of children across the world who come to this country.
It's not cruel. What's cruel is bringing these children over and having such terrible things happen to them. You're absolutely right. It's frustrating because anytime you say something, it seems the left just completely twists it, runs with it. I want to play you a video of Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crocker talking about your capabilities on MSNBC this weekend.
Again, we have someone who doesn't know what he's doing. And, this idea of, you're illegal and then you go out and have a child. It's not quite that simple, especially when you have people that are doing things like seeking asylum and people that are saying, listen, I'm just trying to make sure that I can live a better life. And you have, Trump that goes out there, him and his minions, and they say things like, you know what, we're only going to get rid of the bad ones, right? And so people sit there and they're like, wait a minute, you're going to come to my job where I'm working and I may be paying into taxes or whatever, or my kids are at school. I think that there's going to be a rude awakening really on all sides.
Doesn't know what he's doing. Tom, just to go through some of your background, a Border Patrol agent, an investigator, a special agent, supervisor, special agent, assistant director of investigations. I mean, the list goes on and on. You are so beyond qualified. What's your response to that?
Well, look, I forgot more about this issue than she'll ever know. I mean, for God's sakes, I've been doing it for 34 years. But look, there has been a rude awakening. A rude awakening was in November at the election. There was a rude awakening that American people are sick of an open border. American people are sick of alien crime in this country. I mean, how many young women had to be raped and murdered and burned alive? How many MS-13 and Tren de Guaya had to be in our major cities committing crimes against U.S. citizens? How many angel moms and dads do we have to have in this country that lost their children at the hands of somebody that wasn't supposed to be here, and they bury their children? You want to talk about family separation. And as far as family detention, all of a sudden the discussion goes from family detention to family separation. Family detention is the complete opposite of family separation. So look, I don't know who this lady is, but apparently she's not real smart. But she can say what she wants. Look, I made this clear. I don't care what they say about Tom Homan, because I've done this job for a long time. I think the president got a mandate in November. He called me to help me fix the border. And look, under the Trump administration, we have the most secure border in my lifetime. We're going to get that secure border again, because secure border saves lives, and no one can argue that. Under the Biden administration, we got a historic number of aliens have died across this border, nearly 4,000. An historic number of Americans, over 250,000, died from fentanyl comes across that border. Their policies are killing Americans at record numbers, they're killing aliens at record numbers. President Trump is going to secure this border and save lives, just not of Americans, but of aliens too. A secure border saves lives. That's exactly what we're going to do starting day one.
You know, Tom,
guys, and it's beautiful. Like when that's what I'm talking about. When you hear somebody like Tom Homan speak, that's a freaking pit bull. He comes in, he does the job that needs to be done, and he fulfills it and takes care and protects America. And that's what we need in the speakership. Thank you so much, Judy Lynn, for the super chat. Let's go. So we have to trust what President Trump is doing in his decisions right now. Everyone needs a second chance. Love, True Life News family, and Joel and his family. God bless you all. God bless you, Judy Lynn. Y'all show Judy some love in the chat, as well as Kathy Brewer for the super chat. Let's go. Y'all show Kathy some love too as well. Member of the channel. If you want to be a member, remember the link is in the description to join. So right now, this is what has come out from Victoria Sparks. She was born in Ukraine, guys. Listen to this. She is one who has come out and explicitly said, this is her right here. She has explicitly said, I am not endorsing Mike Johnson. She said, in order to receive her vote, we need a concrete plan to deliver on President Trump's agenda, non-swamp officials getting the U.S. out of the fiscal mess, and we need temporary structures in the House for spending audits and more. We must start fulfilling our constitutional duties, not selling out our republic at the expense of our children. Guys, that is 100% where we should be at. We shouldn't be compromising. Right now, we're about to have one of the best opportunities to change everything. And that's where I'm truly believing that we should do this. Because if we don't, then it's always going to be the same. But there's another person, guy, who's on the front line, Steve Bannon, who's coming out and saying some crazy things. And I didn't really know a lot about this guy besides he was a Trump guy, he got in jail and whatnot. But listen to this, because he is 100% rallying around all the essential changes that need to happen. Check this out.
We live in neo-feudalism. This is not capitalism. This is where you have a underclass, right? A lumpen proletariat almost that's taken care of by the state. You have the very wealthy, and you have this kind of neo-feudalist working class and middle class in the middle that pays for everything. And the guys at the top, we've socialized the risk, that $1 trillion of infusion, right? Remember, the balance sheet of the Federal Reserve on the morning of September 18th, 2008, when they're in the Oval Office talking, is $880 billion. The balance sheet of the Federal Reserve on January 17th or January 20th of 2017, when Donald Trump raises his hand, is $4.5 trillion. The most progressive president in the history of our country, President Obama, saved the wealthy. And here's how they did it. They just turned on the taps of liquidity. We call it, the technical term is quantitative easing. Right. The not technical term is called bailing out the people who are guilty. Okay? So essentially, if you owned anything, you had the greatest 10-year run in history.
Wait.
Yeah.
Let's move to the TARP vote and whether you think, so now all of that is happening.
You have to do TARP, the first one you have to do.
Yeah.
You know why? Your fiduciary, when a guy like Bernanke walks in and says, I need $1 trillion, right? You don't have time to debate. History's going to look at you, and he says, the American financial system is going to collapse in 72 hours, and the world financial system 2 days after that, you have global anarchy. There's not a person on earth I don't hear these libertarians and all these, let capitalism take place. Right. No. When they come in and ask for the first trillion in an emergency, I believe you have to say, okay, we got to do it. I don't know what went on here, but if you're telling me this is going to save me and at least get down the road, I'll do it. But remember, that's the first trillion. We kept on for another $3.5 trillion. Yeah. $3.5 trillion. This is just bailing out the people that caused the problems.
Yep.
Got to think about it for a second. Goldman Sachs didn't lose any equity. None of the partners really missed any bonus payments. None of GE still in business. AIG, it all still exists. All the donors. Okay, the reverse side of this, remember, there is a corollary to this. It's quite powerful. And we know from the notes of the Federal Reserve, a guy named Richard Fisher, the president of the Federal Reserve of Dallas, argued this in the room constantly. He said, by doing this quantitative easing, which you're just flooding the zone with liquidity, we will save the institutions.
Guys, and I'm just telling you this. I hate to interrupt, but this is exactly where it really started of the wasteful spending. When all the big banks got bailed out, when all these big corporations and businesses got bailed out, and who did they put it on? They put it on the taxpayer. When these people, these corporate entities that have billions, hundreds of billions of dollars, and all their executives getting paid multi-million dollars, all these things, but yet it was the taxpayer that funded them out, when you could have given the taxpayer a better check than funding these businesses, and all they've done is taken advantage of American citizens and their money.
And we will save anybody that's a big real estate holder or a hedge fund or bank. But he said, there's a huge reverse here. Number one, savings accounts, you're going to go to zero interest rates. Savings accounts are going to go to zero. So 5,000 years of the Western tradition back to the Marty Bannons, which is be a good householder. Get a wife, get a mortgage, get some kids, and you save your money. Well, now if you save money, you're a sucker. Because it's broken the trust. That's the trust is broken. If you save money, you're a jerk because you're not going to get any interest pay. In fact, the bank's going to charge you. So there's been no, you can't put money away to save into the system. Number two, the pension funds. The pension funds are going to be destroyed. Today we have a $9.5 trillion gap between the obligations of the pension funds and what we've earned off the pension funds. Why? Because it went to zero interest rates and the bonds that they can buy have no juice in them. Right? The other thing is the public schools and all this. Even communities that are not leveraged can't issue bonds because there's no juice in the bonds because the negative interest rate is 1.5%. We've essentially put the burden on the bailout on the working class and middle class. That's why nobody owns anything. Right. But the millennials today are nothing but the 19th century Russian serfs. They're better fed, they're better clothed, they're in better shape, they have more information than anybody in the world at any point in time. But they don't own anything. Yep. They're not going to own anything. Okay? And they're 20%, if you mark in time against their parents, they're 20% behind in their income. And there's no pension plan in the future. Nope. They're all gig economy. We've literally destroyed the middle class in this country. Okay. And both political parties, by the way, this is not about Republicans and Democrats. Right. This is the way the system works, and this is the way the system comes together to protect itself and to move itself forward. Okay? And so because nobody understands even the rudimentaries of finance, right? And they keep the public kind of economically illiterate. We live in neo-feudalism.
I'm telling you guys, they've said that this next generation, they're not going to own anything. They're not going to own. I know plenty of my friends, they can't afford to buy a house. The interest rates are so high. Houses are so high. And it's just crazy to think that unless you're making over $100,000 a year with everything that you have to pay for, it's very hard to own anything in this life anymore. And it's all comes from the top. Like when you think about it, the people, the politicians, the big banks, you got all these like BlackRock who's buying up all these houses, that there are neighborhoods and where I live at that they're rent neighborhoods. The brand new houses, and they say just come rent. You don't need to buy, you don't need to own, just come and rent. And that's what Steve Bannon is talking about. And this is the thing, guys. The more you know, the more you're starting to see that most of this stuff is corrupt. But what's crazy is that what you're about to see next, because Jane Crawford of CBS is now criticizing her own network for not reporting on Biden's mental health issues sooner, saying things could have been changed, but this was the cover-up. And I believe it's one of the biggest scandals ever.
One of the things we
threats,
also do in the year-end correspondence roundtable is dig into what was undercovered or underreported. Jan?
Undercovered, underreported. That would be, to me, Joe Biden's obvious cognitive decline that became undeniable in the televised debate.
At the presidential debate with Donald Trump.
Unquestioned. And, you know, it's starting to emerge now that his advisors kind of managed his limitations. It's been reported in the Wall Street Journal for 4 years. And yet he insisted that he could still run for president. We should have much more forcefully questioned whether he was fit for office for another 4 years, which could have led to a primary for the Democrats. It could have changed the scope of the entire election. Yet, still, incredibly, we read in the Washington Post that his advisors are saying that he regrets that he dropped out of the race. You know, that he thinks he could have beaten Trump. And I think that is either delusional or they're gaslighting.
President Biden has said repeatedly he was sick during the debate June 27th in Atlanta, and he's always been fine, and he leaves fine. That is
delusional, guys. Like this
position of many of his top aides as well, even though there is that reporting.
So there's reporting that says that the aides were covering up Joe Biden's decline, and yet even still, this reporter's like, yeah, but you know, he was sick that one time, so that's why, you know, things didn't really happen, and that's why, you know, it's okay. But I do have some good news for everybody that's watching. The main prosecutor of the January 6th cases, this guy, Matthew Graves, U.S. Attorney Matthew Graves, has reportedly announced his resignation ahead of Donald Trump taking office. Oh, really? He didn't want to get fired because they all know, even with Liz Cheney, that they covered up a lot of things, especially the calls that Chuck Schumer made, Nancy Pelosi made with the National Guard to keep them back from being at the Capitol when they should have been. This guy who literally put first offenders, who literally just walked around the Capitol. Well, my point is they shouldn't have went in. They shouldn't have went in. But still, you don't put in people that are first offenders that walked in the Capitol and literally didn't do anything. I'm not talking about the people that went into offices, but I'm talking about just walked around and put them in jail for 3-4 years when you don't even give that to people with drugs and all kinds of stuff. Like, are you kidding me? I'm telling you guys, the reckoning is coming, but this week's going to be a big fight for what I'm about to show you next, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of GOP people that are saying no, even though Trump has endorsed Mike Johnson. They're saying that Mike Johnson needs to go. And I just feel like this is going to be, there's going to be a lot of news coverage over this. I want you to see this first, because the more and more that we get news on this, the more and more that we're going to see that if Johnson doesn't grow a stronger backbone, he's going to be out. Check this out.
Vote for Johnson. GOP Congresswoman Victoria Sparks joins us now. Congresswoman, thanks for being with us right now. Why are you not committed to Speaker Johnson as the next Speaker of the House?
Well, I'll tell you, I look at people's track record, and unfortunately, we will not be able to deliver on President Trump's agenda, as the same happened in 2016, because it has to be done legislatively if we don't have Speaker with the courage, vision, and a plan. And if Speaker Johnson wants to be a speaker, then he needs to lay out that plan and commit to that plan, not like what he did last year. He committed on the House floor to have a fiscal commission, so we have planned for that ceiling increase, which President Trump is right about. We have no plan. He was afraid to put it on the floor. He was afraid to put budget on the floor. Except post office bill, we could not accomplish anything. So I can give him a chance, but I would like to hear from him how he's going to be delivering this agenda and what plan he has, and he hasn't been doing it.
Okay, you're uncommitted. You say you can give him a chance, and you've laid out what you want to hear from him and some of your criticisms. I do need to ask you, though, about strategy. So if you do not commit to voting for Speaker Johnson, which, by the way, one more defection from Speaker Johnson would cost him the speakership, what do you expect to happen? Do you have a name? Do you have somebody that you would like to be Speaker?
No, I actually want to hear, what other people, and Speaker Johnson is not able to govern. and is not actually willing to commit to do his constitutional duty. I'm not asking him to do anything beyond what Constitution asks. We have a Titanic on the crash course with the iceberg, and our country fiscally is going to have a disaster. And this is a fault of Congress. This is our constitutional duty. If he's not willing to do it, then he's not worth to be a speaker. Any American can be a speaker. And I'm willing to hear other people too. But if Speaker Johnson, I said it again, if he wants to be a speaker, he needs to commit publicly how he's going to be fulfilling his constitutional duties. I'm not asking him go beyond what he has to do by Constitution and what structures we need to put in place to get out of this mess.
I think I hear clearly what you hope, what you expect from Speaker Johnson in order to get your vote. But if he does not do what you want him to do in order to earn your vote, no one else has stepped up. So it leaves the House of Representatives with no leadership for some protracted period of time where Donald Trump is looking to be inaugurated within a few weeks.
Well, listen, I think there are a lot of other people are interested, but I think they don't want at this point to go to Speaker Johnson, and I think, Speaker Johnson needs to have a serious conversation, and I hope he will be able to have that conversation, including with President Trump, and convince him, because there are a few things also he didn't deliver for President Trump, too, what he promised just recently, and he needs to be able to convince the American people that he's able to do it, and other members. So there are other people but right now, no one wants to step up and say, well, Mike hasn't been doing that great, but, we don't want to, since he's been saying all these good things to President.
So I think that's notable if you're telling us you know of other individuals in Congress who would want to put themselves up for Speaker?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. Of course, there's a lot of people probably, and I think that's a debate liberation we have, and I hope we have it before January 6th. This is unfortunate that Speaker Johnson is not willing to have that deliberation with the members that actually opposing him right now, and it's not just me. There's much more members.
Sure.
A lot of people just really afraid to say that.
Sure. So
Guys,
last question.
And I'll say this too, that again, I feel like Mike Johnson really showed his hand when it came to this last CR bill, where he walked out of the room talking to Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, with Mitch McConnell and all of them, and they already had a 1,500-page bill that included censorship for Americans. It included pay raises for politicians, for the congressmen, when they already get paid $180,000 a year. It's not like they're at the bottom of the barrel. If they were getting paid $40,000 a year and they wanted to be bumped up to like 65, 70, all right. No, they're already getting paid $180,000. And I showed you on this channel, they only work 170 days out of the year, when the average American works 252 days out of the year. On top of that, guys, there's a fight that's coming on the tech spectrum. Let's look at this. This came out today. Meta confirms they plan to add tons of AI-generated users to Instagram and Facebook. They will have bios, profile pics, and can share content. So they're literally going to inject fake people that you probably won't even know they're fake unless they somehow state it. So there's just so much that's about to happen that we've got to clean up. First thing we got to do, we got to clean up Congress. We got to clean up our spending. We got to clean up the border. We got to drain the swamp. We got to get fiscally responsible, get a budget. That is, I just feel like right now, whatever we're about to see in these next couple of days, that we're going to cover it. We do, with TrueLife, 2 shows a day, Monday through Friday, 1 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday, and we make sure to take care of you when it comes to the top news. So if you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you don't mind, click the thumbs up like button. It really does help to grow the channel. Thank you so much, Alex Fox, for the super chat. He said, delaying Trump going into office to me is dangerous precedent. I would rather have President Trump and Mike Johnson than President McConnell. Yeah, I don't think McConnell's going to happen, but appreciate you so much, Alex. Y'all show Alex some love in the chat. That guy can barely speak, can barely hold a conversation. Remember, I'm pretty sure it would be Mike Johnson if Biden gets out, President Trump is not inaugurated yet, then it would be Mike Johnson who's the head honcho. But I want to say thank you so much to Charlotte Smith, Leigh Lewis, Judy Lynn Loving Spirit, Kathy Brewer, Mr. Tracy J. Norby, Alex Fox for the super chats, guys. We're so grateful. Remember, around the 21st or the 22nd of every single month, we do a live donation online to a charity. This next month is going to be to a group home where they take in orphaned kids called Tupelo's Mansion, and where they house them, they help find them families. And I love that we can bring a community together to continue giving back, honoring God. We give God all the glory in this, and it's this community that comes together and does that. So please join us. Join this True Life News family if you want to. The link is in the description to join. And I just want to say thank you so much. Me and my family are so grateful for your support, and we're going to be here to serve you every single day. Love you. We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.